When we get married, it's like bringing two sets of suitcases full of expectations into a relationship. What do you do with unknown and unmet expectations?
You know, before we get married, we have a lot of expectations. So, what were some of your crazy surprises in your expectations before you got married?
I just remember when we got engaged, I at one point said out loud, I will never fight with you. Like I was so happy and like so in love, and I could not imagine having a fight like ever. And that was, I mean, probably 2 weeks later, something happened. But yeah, I really thought happiness and bliss forever, and just couldn't imagine it.
Yeah, we got married straight out of college, and so I was 21 years old, and I had never hit the real world. So all of my expectations were rainbows and, unicorns, thinking it'd be perfect, because life was so perfect because we didn't have a ton of responsibilities at that stage of the game. So we went into marriage, and that was when I first went into the real world and had a lot of responsibilities on my own. So that was cool to do that together and to figure that out together.
What about you guys?
Well, I definitely kind of feel the same way. I think you tend to have this assumption that once you get to that next phase, because you're not there yet, and so you think that there's just going to be this occurrence where you just become a better person. You don't realize that you're the exact same person now. In fact, it's even harder than it was. But that assumption I think I made too, that it'd just be wonderful and blissful, and it was every day. Still.
We talk a lot about unrealistic and unknown expectations. Mm-hmm. What were some of ours?
Oh my goodness, I had so many unrealistic expectations. I think probably the biggest, because our entire dating relationship, we lived in two separate towns, so when we saw each other, it was really intense for a brief period of time, and then you went back to school and I went back to work. And so when we got married, I thought that we would have that same kind of intensity all the time, and that I would be the center of your world. And when we got married, I wasn't the center of your world anymore. You know, you had a job and you had friends, and so that was a huge shocker to me.
Mine probably was guilt-free, unbridled sex.
That was an unmet expectation or an unreal expectation? What?
Yeah. The problem with expectations is we have them, but we don't know them, right? Mm-hmm. So then you start unpacking this stuff. We like in marriage to bringing luggage together. And, Cindy's got her clothes and I got my clothes, and we're sorting through, I don't like this and I don't like this. And we start arguing about what we anticipate and expect that thing to look like. Another thing we've learned in expectations is sort of an axiom, is that I love you, but I don't like you right now.
Yeah, that's not anything I ever expected. Like you were saying, Ashley, that, you think you'll never fight. And, I thought not only would we never fight, but I would always like him. And I was surprised to find out we weren't married all that long. When I loved him, I didn't doubt my love, but there were days I just didn't like him.
Mm-hmm.
Understandable. But I've always liked you.
Thank you. Right answer.
I know, that's why I said it. You've also talked about when things are little and we don't resolve them, how they grow.
Yeah, that's one thing we learned early in our marriage, that if there are those little things that just bugged me, that I had to bring them up to Michael before I let them build, because if I don't address them, I blow. It gets enough that then something that's insignificant will make me blow. And boy, I mean, he's feeling like his head is spinning and he's in a tornado. And so that's really important, that just the little things. And sometimes I've also found when they're little, I can kind of make light of it. I can kind of teasing in a way bring it up to where we can resolve a conflict really before it becomes a conflict.
I think it's interesting when you talk about those little things, because coming into marriage, I think our expectation was that, hey, she knows me so well. She's going to know what I need and what I'm thinking. And because we're such a good fit and a good match and we're supposed to be together, she gets me. And there was a lot of assumptions that were made on these little tiny things that saying, oh, she'll figure it out. They don't like that or whatever. and you don't.
Not so much.
And that was a big kind
Yeah,
of missed
yeah.
expectation.
Yeah, Jared always tells me, I can't read your mind. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Just tell me what you think. You know, it's a safe place you can tell me, because otherwise I won't know to change my behavior or not. Or
Expectations are sometimes we just don't talk about them. We'll come to this place, like a meal, for example. I'll come home from work, and Stacy will be like, okay, let's go out to eat. And I'm like, I thought we were going to sit down. And it's like we both have these expectations, and neither of them are necessarily bad. But now what do we do with them? You know, do I shove my motive in her face and say, no, listen, I worked hard. We need to just stay home. Like, I don't want to go out anymore. Or do we like come up with a new expectation together? You know, do we talk about those things instead of just making little assumptions along the way and hoping they can just get a clue and figure it out?
And it really does go back to both undefined and unrealistic, because sometimes we have unrealistic, like it's going to be bliss forever, or, you know, I'm going to be home every night on time, and then undefined, because the lack of clarity, and that's just growing as a couple. In 34 years, we can pretty well read each other's minds. I can walk in the door, I know this is going out to dinner night. When I see the text at 5:45, are you hungry? Translation, I've got nothing for dinner. So expectation, we're going out tonight, honey. But part of that process is undefined and unrealistic. And as we grow, hopefully we're always keeping the short accounts and saying, okay, what happened here? And how do we have better expectations?
And those continue, not just when we first get married. We have expectations of how we're going to raise our children, or how we're going to parent, or what we're going to do during retirement, or whatever. There's always a new set of expectations, so you constantly have to be talking about these and redefining them. And what do we want our goals to be? One thing that Michael and I have done is we tease, but about every 5 years it seems like we are somewhere walking along a beach, and we look back for 5 years, and we look ahead for 5 years. What have we done in the last 5 years? Look what God has done. Look at how amazing the places we've been or moved, or our children and the growth in them. And then in 5 years from now, where would we like to be? Again, that's those expectations. What do we expect for the next 5 years together? And we work through those.